my cheese back on my cracker. I am Ashley Nicole,
And I'm Paige Benjamin of Atomic Travels.
and in this episode, we are discussing the process of adjusting to school during and after the pandemic, as well as how it has affected parents and students and
Don't forget,
those school staff. Uh, what'd you say?
I was going to say, as you guys continue to watch this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and please leave a comment. Let us know what you think about this episode. Now, Ashley, I don't know about you, but going back to school was exciting and anxious at the same time, right? A lot of the times I was excited because it's that one time of the year I go like shopping like no other. And it's one of those things where I'm old school, right? Back in the day, my dad would take me and my siblings to Conway on up in Brooklyn. So y'all already, so Ramon, no, you get taken to Conway or you go downtown Brooklyn and you go school shopping, and it was the most exciting experience in the world. But at the same time, it was very anxious because going grade to grade, you really never knew what you were getting yourself into. And as a young Haitian man growing up in Brooklyn, I had to kind of fight through the stereotypes of being Haitian, Haitian booty scratcher, all of these things. And we got people like Ramon and Kiba who were Jamaican and didn't really have to worry about being Jamaican. But I will let them rock. But so, what was it like for you, Ashley?
It was a whole different story. So, as you know, I have a twin sister, but my mom separated us. So, every year going back to school, I was anxious to meet my friends that wasn't my sister. So, it was like, first you have to explain to people, yes, we are really twins. No, we're not in the same class. Yes, we play with each other at PE. Do you want to be my friend or not? So, that was the thing for me. And then the whole thing, like, okay, I'm finished with you. I'm going to play with my sister now. So it was just that kind of, I don't think I was as stressed as any of our Haitian or Jamaican booty scratchers. None of
Oh, the
that for me.
Jamaicans didn't have to worry about that. That's, me and Tunji know what that feeling was like, right? We old enough to be able to talk about how the Shatas were everything in the community and the Haitians and the Africans were kind of jumbled up into one. It's okay. We're from the diaspora. We acknowledge the fact that we're from the continent. So, to all of y'all that made fun of me, look at me now.
What's so crazy is I've never heard Haitian booty scratcher. I've heard African booty scratcher. I've heard that a lot. And that's kind of like a resentment. I said it went from African booty scratcher to ain't no other body and burn the boy and Afro beats real quick. It wasn't always like this. But no, I feel you.
I tell you. So with that being said, could I mean Tunji, you have the most blessed man alive. So that leads me to kind of have you introduce yourself first, because that's bombastic right there. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I'm born in Lagos, Nigeria, youngest of 9 children, 7 older sisters, and I've gone through life and I've reflected on this a lot getting to this point. I've stepped out into the world as a black man throughout school, throughout everything, and I've loved the world and I've loved people. And uniquely, I've been loved back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everybody doesn't have that experience. So I've walked through life and I've expected to see the best out of people. And the older I've gotten, no matter who that person is, I still see the best. And it's not just I see it. Like I'm not only am I choosing to, because I choose to, they show me the best in them. And
Nice.
I've just
Nice.
walked through life to this day. And that's really the impetus of the most blessed man alive being born. And just really making some decisions. Teaching is one of them. And I actually speak
Okay.
to the core of it. I graduated University of Georgia December 2012. And I had an opportunity. My degree was dietetics, nutrition science. I was either going to take that route to become a speaker, or I was going to go into the classroom. And my thought was, I looked through black men that were just as intelligent as me, just as articulate, just as savvy, just as smart, whatever. And they didn't have the same opportunities I had. They
Mm.
weren't living like I was living. And I thought if I could step into a classroom and give them the two things I was really given, high expectations, like school wasn't an option. The question wasn't where you going to college, it's which one and for what. Like this is what we do. This is what we're here for. So it's not even that my thing isn't high expectation in the sense of you have to go to college, but it's you have to succeed. You
Mm.
have to be able to live through your gift, your passions, and look at them like that, and then give them opportunities to do it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I did a
So
program called Teach for America where I had an option to do it. And I said, like, God, if you give me Los Angeles, like I always felt like I was supposed to go to LA to teach. I'm from Georgia. And I
mm,
got LA, and this opportunity is not easy to get. And I got like the number one, everybody's number one choice, Los Angeles. And ever since then, I'm like, I'm the most blessed man alive. And we've been
nice.
cooking since then.
Nice. That's an amazing story. So tell us what you do today, and yeah, we go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, two main things I want to drop today. I'm the owner of Ruggedly Handsome Young Man's Establishment. That's Rhyme LLC. It's a holistic health company for black men, tailored to black men. The principles will bless everybody, but black men are our focus. It's 100 million black men, getting them to flow state, the healthiest version of themselves, where everything is clicking. And secondly, I'm on the Pivot and Proceed podcast. Shout out Zuri, shout out Kamal. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. Anywhere you get your podcast, you can listen to it. Go ahead and give it a listen. Even that first episode, and tell me it doesn't bless your life. Tell me it doesn't.
Mm,
That's it. I'll
mm.
stop talking. Let
Okay,
me start.
okay. We got the queen. We got she's holding down the torch for the legacy. So tell us who you are and what you do. Got you. Go ahead.
Awesome. Greetings and blessings, everyone. My name is Nakiba A. Warp. I am the executive director, founder, and principal facilitator for Yay X Educational Consulting. We focus on using art as a framework to tap into your life. And we work with multiple stakeholders throughout the school communities, professional communities, community-based organizations. Some of our partners are NYU, Bank Street College, New York Public Library, Columbia University. We are, and then also with your local community schools, we do a lot of professional development in terms of making sure that the terms of learning and access and learning are equitable for all stakeholders involved. I've been an educator for over 20 years. For 12, 13 of those years, I worked with the New York City Department of Education. I did a teaching fellows, which is similar to the program that Tunji was talking about, Teach for America. They kind of like go hand in hand, but teaching fellows focuses on making sure that you have the track into education that you're looking for, seeking to build. But I didn't get into teaching until after I finished my first master's degree in sports management and business. And I was working for the NBA for a while and doing some other things in sports and business. And then when I started to grow my family, I recognized is that I wanted to also make a pivot and be intentional about how I'm involved in the educational process, and how I am ensuring that what happens with them is not something of a matter of happenstance, but it's something that we co-create and we build. And so that's my approach to education. I think it's very important that the most intricate piece of information that I can say tonight is that anything that is rooted in love will grow. If your teaching environment is rooted in love, it will grow. And so all of the ideas around how we receive information, who we are the original architects. You can't tell me that shooting a jump shot off the backboard is not physics. You can't tell me that certain things are embedded in who we are naturally and how we move and how our melanin operates. And so the goal of my organization is to make sure that we build a bridge so young people can see evidence of themselves and representation and go forth in terms of executing their own mission and validating their existence. And we don't have to, because they already come with assets. They already come with who they are. So we're in the business of that mining work that Paulo Freire talks about, helping them find it for themselves. And I'm also a musician. I'm an artist. When I'm not in classrooms and institutions and working with young people and doing professional developments, I might be rocking a stage on a mic somewhere. But that's kind of my
Okay.
story.
Okay, okay. Brother Ramon, I mean, definitely not least, but tell us about yourself, sir.
Okay, my name is Ramon Daly. My formal title at my school is formation lead and character initiatives lead. Pretty much translates to dean of students, where I deal with a lot of the behavior issues, and then also the school is connected to Catholic charities. So the virtues that there are certain virtues of the Catholic Church that are present in the school's ethos that I make sure that is present in different parts of the classroom and during our advisory periods, and I supervise that. I've been in education for over 20 years. I was a part of the New York City public school system, but I took a leap of faith because I wanted to change in environment. Now in the charter, some were good, some were bad, but this one seems to kind of have some ethics about it that align with what I'm interested in, and even white people. So that's really another reason why I kind of like where I am, because I can find people who are willing to seriously become allies to educating Black and Brown young people. The school is located in the South Bronx, pretty much Hunts Point, where they're putting up all those new buildings by the waterfront. So the neighborhood is going to change, and we're interested to see how that's going to happen. I'm also a board member and staff member of a wonderful organization, 6 years old, but we've been doing some really great things named the Royalty Project. What we do, the purpose of the organization is to increase the self-awareness of youth of color by exposing them to their history, discovering their missing history, and then exposing them to bringing them around a diverse group of mentors. We've had, due to the pandemic, we've actually grown rather than shrunk. And we've been able to provide cycles. We have a fall cycle, spring cycle. We've been able to provide cycles for students in states as far as Arizona. All right, so that's pretty much it for me. The reason why I wanted to get into education is because of the influence that some of my teachers had on me. Like a good West Indian boy, I was gonna, get a good job, good career in engineering or something like that. I was studying civil engineering at Brooklyn Tech, and I realized that I liked it, but I don't think I wanted to stay in it. I wanted to become like my teachers who were teaching me civil engineering. So once it was time to select a university, I said, why not? Why go into a career that you're probably going to leave? And I dedicated myself to going into studying education and minoring in psychology. And, like one of those lucky people in university, I use my degree every day. Almost everything I learn, I use it every day. So I think that's the most wonderful thing. Like Nakiba, I approach my students with a lot of love. I call them my kids, my babies. COVID was hard because they say you couldn't hug them, but I hugged them anyway. But because I know that some kids, when they go home, their first name is a derivative of a 4-letter word sometimes. So I had to make sure that, even though they're at home most of the time, they had a place or a person that can log on and kind of give them some virtual love and some energy that will uplift them.
Nice. Awesome. I really appreciate that intro and the background behind why you guys became educators in the first place. Shines a light on how the educators that care in our community care for the right reasons, right? We have a lot of folks that come into our school systems that don't necessarily look like us, but they're teaching our youth, right? And they're not putting the same level of care as if they were your own child. So that's amazing. And especially a program like the Royalty Project, which Ashley has been a mentor. I've jumped on a couple of times as a mentor, and the most blessed man alive was convinced by my wife to be a mentor. Even if it's for two sessions, you're going to want to stay and do more.
You will.
So,
you will.
So with that being said, with the school year just starting, and we know that there's a lot been going on with COVID and a lot been going on with back to school. What are the challenges that you guys are facing going back to school this year, as opposed to previous years? And, how has those challenges have had a mental impact on you?
I'll say that last year was our first year of fully in person, and what I noticed was the socialization of the students were different. You know, they were a lot more insensitive in the sense that they had that veil of the internet, of Zoom, you know, of the metaverse, if you want to call it that, you know, where they can say certain things, into a chat and not be held readily accountable for what they do. So when they came back, they were a little bit harsh with one another. They needed to learn how to socialize with one another again, learn how to problem solve together, learn how to de-escalate frustrating or situations that make them very angry. And some of them struggled with that, and we knew we had to work with that. And then added to that was the academic deficit created by the pandemic, where students who needed services or needed extra help, it was difficult to administer that extra help to them.
I'd like to jump in and chime in and definitely address that question. I neglected to mention earlier that I'm also a board member at the Royalty Project and help develop a lot of the curriculum, and really looking forward to folks really coming out and supporting our upcoming session for sure. This concept of learning loss that has been floating around a lot is indeed, in fact, related to what Ramon is saying in terms of students that receive special services not really being able to have access to those services in the same ways. But I'd like to embrace and take a different turn in terms of the idea of what learning is and what constitutes as learning, and looking at redefining learning. And that's what I utilized within my own household, as well as with the young people that I work with during the pandemic that really needed community above everything else. Mm-hmm. And finding community and developing community, feeling invested in as well as contributing to a community, I found that the best results in terms of socialization, in terms of that learning gap, those learning gaps that really disproportionately impact our community, because there's already a lack of culturally responsive pedagogy within our school systems initially. And so not really having access provided more of a chasm, if you will. And so I in my professional development, in my going into schools and working directly with stakeholders and parents and children and teachers, asking them to look at the concept of learning in a more holistic and comprehensive way, and not to be so streamlined in how we identify with this concept of learning, and that the outcomes will be different. And also embedded in the process in a lot of mindfulness and a lot of being present with yourself to understand how you're impacting your learning environment and how your learning environment is impacting you. And I found that taking those approaches with young people can yield really, really positive results in terms of allowing the schools to actually become what they're supposed to be, spaces where communities come to build and grow, and not just these rote systems where documentation and data is reflective of how young people are, like really taking a qualitative perspective. So sorry to be long-winded, but
no, that's exactly what we were what we were looking for. And I mean, Ashley, since we're talking about going back to school, I wanted to talk about some of my struggles with going back to school. I struggled with productivity as a child. Focusing in the classroom usually got me in trouble. My lack of focus today still gets me in a little bit of trouble, but you know, it's still one of those things where I'm just always trying to find a way to kind of stay focused. I find it hard to concentrate a lot of the times just because my mind is always racing, always thinking about the next thing. And for the last couple of years, all right, I'm in my 40s now, so things are a little different for me now. We got aches and pains that we weren't really expecting to have, because it wasn't in the school of in the adult manual, right? And so because because I sit for work every day, a lot of the times I'm literally just sitting at my desk, and I started to notice that I was getting these lower back pains because of sitting down. And, you know, we recently got contacted with the folks over at Magic Mind that said, hey, I think we have a product that might be able to fit your brand. And it's a product that they mentioned to us that would help with focus, inflammation, anxiety, and stress. So after having the conversation with them, we were like, you know what, let's try it out. Now, I do want to put this disclaimer out. If you're taking certain medication, if you're taking certain medication, please make sure you check with your doctor first before taking these shots. Now, by starting these shots, I started to realize, all right, let me see what I can do to kind of get some of these things going. All right. So I started taking Magic Mind with coffee. And what I started to notice was that I wasn't drinking as much coffee anymore. I also noticed that I wasn't feeling as painful in my lower back. I wasn't having like a foggy brain, or I wasn't all over the place. And so because of that, I was like, you know what? Let me try it a couple of different ways. So me and my wife, Jackie, has this inside joke called the begrudging trails, where she would love to take me on hikes. And now I would go on these hikes, and it's called the begrudging trail because I would be complaining the entire time. And so what I started noticing was that after we started going on these hikes, I wasn't feeling the pain as much anymore. And the other side effects of it was I was a lot more pleasant. You know, I wasn't complaining as much. I wasn't getting on her nerves as much. And so with that being said, it's a 2-ounce shot that really has a lot of natural ingredients in it. And I really wanted to talk on a couple of these ingredients. One of the ingredients, as I mentioned earlier, I sometimes lack focus, sometimes get a little bit of pain. And so one of the ingredients is ashwagandha, which is used to help release anxiety, which used to help a little bit of stress. I think the stress relief was more for Jackie than it was for me because I wasn't complaining as much. The other ingredient I wanted to talk about was matcha. Matcha, either combined or by itself, has its level of caffeine and energy boosting effects that allowed me to kind of prolong my day without having to drink extra cups of coffee. Last but not least, and I think this was the most influential for me, was the ingredient of lion's mane, which allowed me to be able to not have so many experiences of back pain or having to stop our trails because I need to sit down every so often. And lion's mane's one of the primary effects for me was the inflammation reduction. And I really love that for that. So if you're wondering, how can I get this? Well, you can go to magicmind.co/cheese. And we have currently we have a promo going on, cheese 20. You'll get 40% off your first subscription, and then you'll get 20% off your first one-time purchase. Now, this deal is only good for 10 days. So please, once again, go to magicmind.co/cheese and use Como Prod cheese 20 to get 40% off your first subscription or 20% off your first single purchase. Now, with that being said, based on you guys' position in your school, do you have a routine that helps you guys kind of get into the back to school mode? Either one of y'all can jump on that.
For me, in terms of back to school starting, I definitely have to, if you're starting from like summer vacation, definitely have to change my sleep habits of waking up anytime I want to wake up. So definitely trying to readjust that, going to bed more at a normal time, changing diet, making sure that the foods that I eat are more energizing. Like, for example, in this new position, I was just talking to you earlier, Paige, how it's a little bit more demanding. I don't eat until typically I'm not a breakfast person, right? So I don't necessarily eat I don't eat breakfast. So typically I don't eat till 4 o'clock because I'm so busy.
Wow.
To be honest with you, because I typically cover like 2 to 3 lunch periods, and then I'm running around the building trying to put out fires and talk to kids and solve issues, talk to parents, confer with parents, observe teachers, things of that nature. So, but when I do eat, Especially during the school week, I have to have things that are nutritious. So I'm just eating like salads, green, like mainly vegan and very little actual meat protein, so that I do have the energy to make sure that I get through the day. Hydrating quite a bit because I'm back in the gym now, and that helps. That helps the old bones. So I noticed that what I did notice is that my knees hurt less when I'm more hydrated. So that the whatever lubrication that needs to be there is there. So maybe you want to increase for that back and stuff like that.
Got you.
Increase your water intake. But those are some of the things, because you definitely, if you're working hard and dealing with kids and giving of yourself, to each different kid in a different way, you have to find something that's going to replenish you, whether it's, like Kiba said, some type of mindfulness exercise, whether it's taking just maybe 20 minutes for the day just for you and you alone, or for me, going to work out and take out some frustration on some inanimate weights. And I think that's something that helps me get ready for the year, because right now that cycle, that pattern is rolling right now, and it's really helping quite a bit. And I can sustain myself staying to work getting to work at 7, and then leaving at 6, and I still don't feel bad, and I'm getting up like at 5:30.
Yeah, thank you for that, Ramon. Helped me place a lot of what I was feeling and thinking about in response to that question. I had the opportunity before the start of the school year to go on a wellness retreat to Bali, and it was everything. It was everything that I needed and everything that I didn't know that I needed. And I think that for educators, it is not an optional thing. It is imperative that you find a way to rebuild and replenish during your off time, because there is so much giving, and it's a cyclical flow of energy. But if you don't take the time to pour back into yourself and to really be, isolated from that giving position and give back to yourself, then you're not going to have anything. A good friend of mine always says that we should be pouring from our saucer and not our cup. You should be pouring from your overflow. But if you're not replenishing yourself and giving yourself what you need, then you're pouring from your cup and your cup is empty. But you pour from the overflow. You pour from what is in abundance, what is extra. And another thing that I know that works in terms of natural holistic remedy, from not only an educator's perspective, but a parental perspective, is looking at how all of my children function and the best case scenarios in terms of bringing about their greatest selves. Like, I know, Paige, you were talking about not really being able to focus. And I have some of those issues sometimes with my children, but I realize that's an asset. And I try to make sure that I'm formulating the environment to make being multifaceted, being kinesthetic, an asset, and not to see as something, not for them to experience it as something that is getting in the way of them achieving, or getting in the way of them really showing their best selves. And I think it's important to be multifaceted in how we look at that. Another thing that I lean into in terms of natural and holistic remedies are flower essences. Some good friends of mine work with the essences, and essentially it's just taking the most natural part of flowers and providing it in a serum so that people can kind of take daily doses every day. And if folks are interested in that, I can definitely forward their information. One of the sisters that I know that does it, one of my sisters that does it, is she works with the seed school and the spirit seed. And another sister does Akika flower essences, I believe. Water, natural juices. And then the last thing I want to say is about this concept of self-care. Self-care, it's an inside job, but it doesn't happen in a silo. It doesn't happen by yourself. And according to the great Bell Hooks, who we recently celebrated her birthday, she's transitioned recently as well. It happens in community. Self-care happens in community. So get with some folks that are committed to their own self-care, so that they can be reflective of how you are committed to your own self-care, and that energy can flow within those communities that you're building. So yeah, that's how I do, how I prepare for the school year.
So, with that being said, I know a couple of y'all are parents. How do you prepare yourself as a parent to prepare your children, or how do you prepare your children for upcoming changes in school? Boom.
I can speak on that. I can speak on that. I think the most important thing to provide for children is stability. Like change and transition are promised, right? Those things are coming. But if they know that there are stable places and stable people that are consistent, and you can leverage that stability as they move through these transitional spaces. And having to change schools or having to change where you live, or all of these things come up, and they're not always comfortable or invited by young people. Like, nah, I want to go where I want to go. I want to be doing what I want to do. But if you focus on the things that are stable, the things that are not transient, the things that are consistent, and allow for those things to provide, like I said, that platforming or leveraging, so that when those things and changes do occur, they'll be invested in the curiosity of it, and not so much being nonchalant or negative towards it, because they know that they can rely on the stable and consistent spaces.
So I know earlier Ramon mentioned the different behaviors of some of the students as they came back from the pandemic. I know that the pandemic has brought a bunch of changes, but there's also recently I've been seeing a lot about mass exodus of employment, a lot of people changing jobs, a lot of people taking this leap of faith. Do you feel that mass exodus of employment is having an adverse effect on education and the educational system?
I don't know about every sector. I'm not, being that I'm now in the charter sector, it definitely is. Because charters are at will employers, so you can leave at any time or they can let you go at any time. So if someone is in the field and they find something better, you might lose a teacher in the middle of the year or right before you're about to start school, which happened to us. We already had a vacancy, and we thought we had someone in the position, and that person left after 2 weeks. And didn't give 2 weeks notice, because again, they're at will. So it does happen in terms of the mass exodus. Where they go to, I don't necessarily know, but hopefully, I wouldn't want anyone to stay in a place where they feel stifled or that they can't grow. So I would definitely encourage anybody at any point in time, you have my blessing to go chase your dream.
So before you go, Kiba, we got Tunji back on. I know he was having some struggles, right? So Tunji, I'm gonna back up 2 questions just for you. Based on your experience and in your current position, because on the state of the Black man's mental health, when we talked about how Black men love, you talked about that you do substitute teaching, right? Based on that, how do you prepare yourself to go into a school year? Because on that episode, you talked about a tragic event that occurred and not being able to reach every single child. And so, how do you prepare yourself mentally to get yourself in a position to go back to school?
Honestly, I look at it like warfare, and not in the sense of in the sense of how you would prepare yourself for battle. Every battle matters, every class matters, every moment matters. In order to do that, it's a war of attrition. It's my mind has to be together. So I need to do the things I love to do. I need to go through my quotes. I need to watch videos. I need to do the things that inspire me. Like my sister said, okay, she's a musician. She needs to be playing music. I'm a speaker. I need to be making connections. I need to speak for myself. And then my body, I need to work out. I need to be physically in shape. Even now, I may sound a little bit nasally because I was in 2 different states, teaching in 2 different places. And, kids, like kindergarten, 1st grade, then I had high schoolers, and all these viruses, all these germs are on you. And now it's physically affecting your body. So it's like when I say warfare, I really do mean that. Be in a physical place where, okay, if my immune system is fighting something, how do I beat it in 2 days? I need to get enough sleep. So me, it's really looking at it like a battle and being in the shape of a warrior. Like I intend to win. I intend to be able to show up every day and at the very least fight my best fight. So that's the piece of, and I think the most of it stems from the mental piece, right? Really, really having your mindset in the place of like that love, like as my sister said, and it takes. And then she said it again, like what you give from overflow. So my goal is to be in a state of overflow. I don't want to be just hanging on, walking in, limping into a room, limping into a school, like barely getting through. I want to be clicking on all cylinders. I want to walk in, shrugging, like, let's get it. Like, it's me. You know what time it is. And that feeling is putting time into yourself. So I wake up way early in the morning and I do all these things for me. So by the time I walk into a classroom, I am in overflow. So that's really my game preparation, how I go about the business.
I like that. I like how you phrase that. You walk in a state of overflow.
Yeah.
As soon as you hit the door, there's some kid saying, "Hi, Mr. Daly," and giving you a hug.
Yeah.
What?
It's got to be before you leave the car. Because sometimes you may get out that car and there's a student waiting right there. So,
yeah, absolutely. So definitely, I agree with you.
Yeah, and they feel it. They can tell. They can tell. They are the truest of the true seers. They be like, nah, you're not really like that, man. You're not really like that, mister. Like, that's not who you are. And they have the truth serum. And so if you coming in not as your best self, if stuff is happening and things are not at equilibrium with you, they not only feel it, but they can tap into it. Because there's a very, like you said, cyclical flow of energy, but a spiritual flow as well. And they feel that. And so you don't want to transmit something if you're not in the best shape, health, spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, physically. Those things show up big time. And you can tap into that. Let's tap into that before any lesson that you're trying to teach them. And so it's important that you identify with where you want to be and how you want to be perceived and how you can project your best self before you get in front of them, because they'll smell it a mile away.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like when you talk about psychological warfare, this is what I mean. My first year teaching, I was teaching 7th grade life science, and there was a student there that couldn't read at all. And yeah, you're supposed to have a pair and this person to walk through them, or they're supposed to be, that resource wasn't there or wasn't put in place yet, or whatever it was. This student was in my classroom. And this is just one example of a student that I knew I couldn't get there by the end of the year. Like I didn't have the skill set, and it was eating away at me that I wasn't there yet. And you know, a lot of things they'll say the first year, this first year you ain't gonna teach nobody, like nobody learning anything, and that ate away at my soul. I wasn't okay with that. So what I did is I made up in my mind, like the first Christmas break, that I would love a student from the first day of the year to the last day of school. That is my job. Because I saw a video about Ubuntu. This South African educator, she said, every student needs someone that's irrationally dedicated to their success. Irrationally dedicated. And I became obsessed with that, okay, that I will love you from the first day to the last day, no matter what. And then it's a mind game, right? Okay, today, I got to show up. This moment, I have to be locked in. This moment, I have to love you. And then just do it again tomorrow, because this school year will end. And then I reaped the benefits of it when I was flying back. I flew back from LA this morning, super early in the morning. And one of my 9th graders that I taught 4 years ago, just graduated. He's working at, I don't know if y'all know what Clear is, that kind of helps you get through security, TSA faster. He's working in Clear, and I'm like, LeBron? He's like, Mr. A? And I'm like, look at life. And the words he told me is, because I only taught that high school for 1 year, he was like, your name never died. And it wasn't because of any lesson. It wasn't because of any specific teaching strategy. It's because I loved them. And I was able to love them because I loved myself, because I got myself to that mental space every single day to be able to step in and like, okay, I have something to give, because I've already given it to myself first.
Tunji, I just want to say something really quick to address something that you mentioned in terms of feeling like, wow, I can't really give this student what they need. And I think a lot of educators feel like that and succumb to that or submit to that. And really and truly, when you're thinking about servicing a child holistically, the school has to do the proper job of assessing where the child is and how they show up. And so that it's not just Tunji on the job, but it's Tunji. It is the para. It is the person that's doing the pullout. As a former special education, director of special education, that was my bag. That's when I was able to really curate the conditions for the most successful productivity of a student. And so when you come in with that mutual respect and that love, and understanding that not having a foundational skill as reading down pat in 7th grade, there's a lot of social stigma attached to that. And when you create a space for young people to lean in their greatness and their brilliance, and not lean into that stigma and not make that overarching thing where he can't read and he's struggling. That's the problem with the institutions that we call schools where our young people are learning. The problem is they don't see their assets. They see their deficits.
Yes.
And they don't center their assets as a space for them to learn holistically through the lens of their assets. Because if I'm nice in basketball, I want to learn on the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell you if you've ever played any organized sport, if you've played any kind of football, you know what kind of intellectual capacity it takes to understand and execute those plays. That can be transferable to any academic setting. But if the curation of the conditions aren't there, then there's going to be a missed gap. And the misnomer is that that person isn't intellectual when they're showing and displaying intellect in a myriad of ways outside of the classroom. So it's not about them being the problem. It's about what's happening in the classroom being problematic and not creating the space for their gifts and their talents to be accentuated.
Yeah, and then also you don't have to rely on the formal what's the word I'm looking for, evidence of learning, in terms of a young man who can't read very well. Well, they have passions. One of the things I always tell my students, if you're not going to go to college, definitely make sure you're spending your time, especially now in middle school, because I've worked with middle school for the majority of my career. Start doing things, trying different things to find your passion. And like you, Tunde, I run into students all the time. A lot of them, I live in Harlem and I taught in Harlem for many years and the South Bronx. Funny thing is, actually, one of my current students is the son of one of my former students that I had my second year teaching in 8th grade. It blew my mind, and I remember the young lady because she was really, really bright. So it's totally blowing my mind that things have come full circle. But but going back to my point in terms of finding their passion and they're able to learn different ways. I had a student who was a 5th grader. He had he was interested in DJing. So we used to let him DJ the junior high school dances, right? And I saw that he was coming in with the struggle bus speakers from 1982, all right? So I gave him my DJ controller that I had that I'm not using. And now he's hitting parties all over the place. I got another kid, not a strong student, but he was into skateboarding. He now works with Supreme and just came back from modeling and stuff in Paris. And I saw him at the Harlem Night Market. You know what I mean? So these people are doing different things. Another one is in the music industry. Another one has a construction company. Others work for MTA. So I run into my students every time, and it's always a good look to see them happy. Even the ones who who just came home from jail. They're trying to find their way, and it's still love. They still you gotta still show that love and see that you see promise in them, no matter where they are. You see promise in them, and they can secure whatever opportunities they choose for themselves.
And this kind of ties into you guys' involvement in the royalty project, right? Like, let's dive a little deeper into that and how you guys are molding the minds. And from my understanding, it's from youth between the age of 10 to 14, which is formative years before they kind of get brainwashed by the high school mentality, right? So this is kind of similar to the question about being a parent. As mentors, do you see yourselves molding these youth's minds such that they are preparing themselves for the future? And at the end of this, are you seeing a change, right? Because the in my personal opinion, teachers, you guys are the superheroes that are leading the changes for our future, right? And so how are you guys doing that through the Royalty Project?
Well, I'll just say that when I got introduced to the Royalty Project, I brought maybe 3 or 4 of my students to the organization to participate in the cycles, and after those cycles, transformative. You strut different, you walk different, they move through the hallways different, they attacked challenges differently, right? Because they were around people who uplift them. They were around people who helped them tear down the negative beliefs they had of themselves. They made them more fearless and confident in who they are as young people connected to the diaspora. A lot of us as adults, I would dare say that quite a few of us came into our full-fledged blackness in probably our mid-20s or so, right? In terms of understanding who you are and the confidence that you have, the history, the legacy behind your culture. Now, if you learn that at 10 years old, you're going to move through the world with power.
Mm.
You're not just going to walk, you're going to strut. And because you want some, and how great it is, you want somebody else to have it. So you're going to share some of that overflow, like we said earlier, with someone else. And the students that I've had that from my schools that I've worked at that participated in the Royalty Project, totally transformative, different people. And we see it within the cycle each time that you might have a shy, quiet young man, not really saying much, a young woman not really saying much, but at the end, they say the most profound things.
Even I'd like to say, even as an adult, or I've been a mentor in different programs, but as a mentor in the Royalty Project, I was well into my 30s. But after that first image session, Ashley at the beginning of the session, Ashley at the end of the section, it was 2 different people. Even as an adult, you still need those little pick-me-ups, those little reminders, and that's what the Royalty Project does. It gives you that reinforcement. If it can do that for a fully grown Ashley, imagine the impact that it's having on those children, those young kings and queens who are coming for those 6 weeks, learning who they are, walking a little bit taller, being a little more proud of their melanin, being a little more proud of how they appear, how they show up in the world. And I think that program, along with all of our educators that we have here, the attitude that you have when you're with children, the you that those children get to experience influences the adults that they become.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Ashley. I think when it comes to the Royalty Project and the development of the organization over the years and the evolution of the organization, the word that comes to mind for me is tribe and belonging. And I think oftentimes we do operate in silos and we don't know who our people are. And when you come into a Zoom room or you come into a space and you found your people, it's everything. Because as African people, we are spirit connected and communally first. And so we don't really operate on this individualistic mindset. And so to find tribe and to be reintroduced to tribe, like there is something very familiar about you. This is an ancestral connection. I've dealt with this before. I've felt this energy before. It feels familiar. In the IDBE world, they call it belonging, a sense of belonging, a sense of pride and belonging. And like I said, once there's love there at the impetus or at the initial stages, you can go and grow to anywhere. I had the benefit of being raised in a Pan-African home and the benefit of raising my children in a Pan-African home. So this sense of self in terms of knowing how their positionality in the world impacts how the world moves is very different. I think offering young people and mentors and community members alike the opportunity to re-engage with who they are ancestrally through the vehicle of the Royalty Project has been very beneficial. And the way that all of the cycles touch on different parts of your personal development. And as Ramon says, once you learn that and you tap into that at a young age, the sky is the limit. There is no sky. Like, you're in space, you're out of here, because you don't have any limitations that are formally set up and institutionally and systemically set up to not allow you to see yourself in different spaces.
Nice. Okay. Oh man. Now, Tunji, if I just wanted to come back to your initiative, right? Getting 100 million Black men into a state of, I can't put it. What was it again?
Can't hear you.
Oh man.
What was your initiative?
Yeah, just kind of getting your initiative out there a little bit more. We can't hear you, brother.
Oh.
All right. I mean, well, we'll get back to him on that one. So, Ashley, when you want to keep going?
We still can't hear you. While he's working on that, I did also want to ask. So, all of us, we're present with the Royalty Project, and we've built community in these different ways, whether it's different initiatives. Do you have, or do you need support in building oh wait, wrong question. Sorry, y'all. At your regarding your job or your child's education, we've gone through a lot in these past couple of years. How are you finding and building community?
I'm trying to be more open. As I said, my staff has more Caucasians than I've ever worked with in my teaching career, to date. And seeing that a lot of them are making the effort to acknowledge the space that they're in terms of the children and the neighborhood where the school is located, it's actually encouraging me to open up to a broader community. There's people that are coming from all different states, because like I said, it's connected to a Catholic charity where you'll have a student from North Dakota coming out to volunteer for the school to do a Catholic mission. And that's another way of connecting with people. I play golf, and I'm starting to play golf with a lot of my colleagues now. So that's another way to do that. Other colleagues, we just, we'll hang out on a weekend or something like that. But, mainly just building with people that I wouldn't normally build with, and that's something that I see and that I'm doing now, trying to be more open, trying to get more experiences, and trying to make sure that I stay open enough to learn in spaces and from people that I wouldn't traditionally be able to learn from.
Yeah. I'm a communal person, and the pandemic and the way that time was spent was a very inward time for me. It was very introspective and very kind of really dealing with what was happening inside. I think when you talk about building community, it's important to seek like-minded individuals that really connect to some of your goals, to some of your values. I think that if you're evolving out of a certain space or changing or shifting, it's important to not dwell or deal with certain energies in an intense or over exaggerated way, because that you're wanting and hoping to really move to another place in terms of the synergy and the energy that you want to create around you. In terms of my children, my children are involved in every activity ever known to man. So they're in soccer, they're in track, they're playing instruments, they're hanging off the bunk bed, they're doing all the things And I've found beautiful communities with parents that are like-minded, that want the same best results for their children academically, socially, emotionally. And it's been great to be able to build within those communities. Within schools, I found that especially the community school dynamic that a lot of New York City schools subscribe to. I think it's important to have a really amazing connection with whoever your parent coordinator is, or whoever is dealing with external messaging and how that works. And so that when it's time to garner support or galvanize support from a community-based perspective, you are tapped into that person. You're tapped into their resources. You're tapped into the community resources. Oftentimes, the resources in a school community are underutilized because there's no bridge building there. And so in any regard where we can plan and commune and be intentional about building tribe, it's important to really tap into that and utilize that.
Nice. And so with that being said, how do you guys show up for your youth? Like, I know you guys mentioned how you prepare yourself for your youth, right? That's, as Tunji said, being ready, being prepared, but how do you guys show up for them? How do you guys make sure that they understand that you're there for them and their journey in education?
I can go again. I try to show up free. I try to show up flawed and imperfect. I try to show up masterful. I try to show up novice. I try to show up as my full self. I think the biggest role that an educator or a teacher or someone that is in that sort of position in a school community or a school is that of a student. Their biggest role is to be on the continuum of learning consistently. And I try to show up as a student in spaces where young people are really supposed to be leading the way. I don't like this idea of allowing them or gifting them or giving them. I want them to know they already got it. And I'm just here to be an usher, to pretty much usher them to their seat. Like if you're attending a church or attending some sort of event, I am the usher. I'm the usher in the process, but the platform is really you. And I think when you show up and you make mistakes in front of them and you acknowledge those mistakes, it humanizes that learning experience for them. They get in tune with that learning experience because they feel like, wow, Ms. Nakiba is this, that, and the third, but she admitted that she didn't know that, or she had to learn more about that. And she looked at me as the expert or the master in that field to really identify with my expertise. And I think that changes the game for them. And so I like I said, I try to show up free, flawed, masterful, and novice in those spaces where young people are really supposed to be leading.
For me, I wish I could show up for adults the way I show up for students. My patience is real short with adults, but with my kids, what they realize is that every day is a new slate with me. The love is there. I don't hold any grudges. Some kids are shocked by, I've had instances where, students get extremely disrespectful. And then the next day I'm like, yo, give me some love. And they're like, what? Didn't I just curse you out yesterday? Like, yeah, you did, but today's Tuesday. Something like that. Just understanding that, they have a chance to kind of start over, reinvent themselves and improve. One of the things that I've been talking about with my students this year is how do you master yourself through the challenges that the universe is going to throw at you? So I tell students I talk to who say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try not to overreact in class. I was like, guess what? I bet you tomorrow somebody in class going to try you. Be prepared and think about the goal that you have for yourself. Because that's what the universe does. It's trying to get you stronger and stronger. It's going to test you. It's going to put you through some challenges. So, and they've been responsive to that. There's a young man in particular that just came into my head when I was thinking about that. I need to go, tell them that I see him. I see him making those positive changes. I might be going off on a tangent here, but
no, you're good. No, you're good, because I was going to follow up with that, because you started
always open, always loving towards them, always not necessarily permissive, but I like the way you use that analogy of ushering them. The ushering I do may not always be comfortable. My ushering may feel like coaxing sometimes, but I'm doing it because I see there's a place for you to go, and it's good for you. It will take you to the next step.
So I'm gonna go to Brother Tunji, and Tunji, once you're done, I want to go back to Ramon, because something you said I want to kind of expand on.
And can I add the question one more time?
How do you show up for your youth?
I give them myself authentically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't pretend to be who I think they need. I truly endeavor to become a better person. I truly endeavor to grow. I truly endeavor to be the best version of me. And then I show up in front of them. And as my sister said and my brother said, then as I make mistakes, I'm able to own up to them. Right? As I like learn how to control my temper, my anger, I do it in real time, then they see it. Then they're like, how do you do that? And I explain the thought process. Like, I'm able to do that because I'm also responsible. I remember one parent came up one day and she was like bad to the school and everything like that. Because she was because she would come in on one. Let's call it that. So she's all of a sudden at my door and she goes off and then slams my door in my face in front of my classroom. I breathe and I turn around and look at my students and they're like, something. I'm like, that's not how I wanted to respond, right? But it's not always about what you want to do. It's what needs to be done. It's something about, I think somebody told me that whatever feels good in a moment like that, don't do what feels good. Why is this in the world will necessarily feel good in that moment? Being able to think past that moment and doing that think aloud with them in real time. Help them understand, okay, how I can respond in the future. You can talk it all day, but once you live it, they'll remember forever. So I really I revel in those moments of trial and turmoil in front of my students personally. Because how I show up and respond gives them an example of, okay, this is how it can be done. And when we talk about students coming back from the pandemic, I think about those students who really have my heart, are the ones where school is a safe haven. School is where freedom is. School is really home. Especially teaching in places like LA where some kids are homeless, living in the car, it's all over the place. They come to school and it's that stability. Then you have an opportunity to teach them things like, how do I respond to struggle? So me, it's all example, it's modeling. And it's genuine, it's authentic. Let me just be me. And like you said, the world is going to try you. The universe going, I bet you somebody going to try you today. That's not exclusive to students. That's the teachers too. The world is going to try you. The school system's going to try you. Students going to try you. And administration's going to try you. And how you respond, they're always watching.
You're on mute, Paige.
My bad. I wanted to talk on something where the response to this answer was, with the adults, not so easy as the students, right? In your new administrative role, how do you show up for the adults that need to show up for the students? Because, in your supervisory role, it's now, you're no longer, it's weird to say, you're no longer the colleague, you're the supervisor, the boss, right? How has that dynamic shifted in your ability to improve the quality of education for the youth? Because that's ultimately what you're trying, your role is to do, right?
So my approach is that I never, as I over the years when I had experiences with different administrators, I never wanted to be that administrator who forgot from whence they came, from where they came. You know, I don't want to forget that I was once in the trenches. And if I'm not in the trenches, that means that I can't necessarily tell you what you're going through. I can relate, but I can't exactly tell you what you're experiencing in any particular moment. So when I come into a classroom just to see how, mainly as my role as like a dean of students, I'm looking at seeing how can I help a teacher with their classroom management. I don't want it to be like a gotcha. I walk in there looking for possible solutions that might fit that teacher's personality that they can actually implement that'll work for them to make them feel more confident as an educator, and then enable them to instruct the students. So it's not necessarily, for me, it's not a gotcha, because I feel like, you know, if you decide to come to this profession, which is underpaid and no glory, right? You can be developed. You know, you can do more than not. You can be developed. So, you know, I look to be supportive. I also, when I go into classrooms, I look to see, are you okay? Are you 100%? Particularly with new teachers. You know, we have a young brother here who, you know, wasn't confident about how he was doing because, you know, the kids are sixth graders. They were giving him a run for his money. I was like, hey, don't worry, this whole year is going to be difficult, but let's get past that now, because this is your first year teaching, but I'm going to be here. Like, try this, try that. Let me know how it works. Then you come back and check on him, and then you give him a pat on the back because he's implementing these things. You give him a pat on the back, and this young man lit up. You know, he lit up because, all right, I'm getting this thing called teaching. So you're there to kind of support them, see how they're doing. You know, like today I walked in, I saw a teacher kind of moving a little sluggish. Hey, you need a cup of tea? I'll go to the staff lounge and get it for you. You know, just building relationships, knowing that I'm looking at them, I'm seeing them, I'm noticing them, I'm noticing where they may be in a need. You know, and that's something that I think is I guess a superpower, as we say in the Royalty Project. I can kind of see where people's hearts are or emotions are by reading their body language in their eyes, and that's something that I do in order to, with the students, but also with the staff, to make sure that they're okay, you know, and ready to give and pour into the students.
Understood. And same for you, Kiva, right? You're now a consultant, right? And you're traveling the nation, if not the world, to talk to teachers, to educators on, you know, how to make necessary changes to improve. Like, how has that been looking like for you as you show up for these educators that look to you for advice?
I love this question. It's been a pretty powerful experience for me to travel the country and the world in the capacity of educator. I show up in that position with a lot of empathy and compassion and grace for having once been in that situation, for knowing what it is like to not have a prep and to be teaching all day and the coverage and all of the things. So it helps me from that position and perspective to having been in that space as they are, to be a better motivator, to be a better teacher coach, to be better at helping them definitively change and alter things that I think would create an easier path for them. I also used to be an educator in a school where kids were overage and unaccredited from 17 to 21. And my primary role in that learning environment was not that of a teacher, but a motivator that teaches. And so to create motivational energy, to be that space where, as Ramon said, there's light here, I can go here. Because, you know, young people spend more time at school than they do at home with their parents. And so that communal parental, that's not just something that exists, you know, in some legal jargon. That is the actuality of the situation. Like, young people spend more time with their teachers and their school communities than they do at home, because you go home, you do your homework, you wash up, you get some dinner, and you go to sleep. That one-to-one time is mostly happening in the school community. So it's important to lift up things like representation. Representation is invaluable. For me to come on a Zoom call and see 2 other educators that are Black men is powerful, and standing in their own right in their intellect and their academic prowess, as well as their ability to be multifaceted in school communities, that's invaluable. And oftentimes it's abused, as Ramon will tell you, where people just kind of funnel the so-called problems their way, and disproportionately expect for them to attend to those things, because there's a lack of cultural and linguistic nuance in approaching how young people need to be seen, heard, and felt. And so I think representing a Black woman in consulting has been powerful. It has been a powerful experience for me to travel the country and the world in that, and to represent that ascension has been amazing. It's been an amazing motivational tool for me to use in those coaching environments, because people just want to feel seen, and they want to feel heard, and they want to feel valued. And so when there's an example or something that they can point to as a representative of where they see themselves, or what they would like to be doing, or how they want to approach things, it becomes a priceless tool.
Nice. Appreciate it. And you guys have touched on so many different areas. And from each of you, this is the last thing I'm gonna ask you guys. What advice would you give a new teacher? Just any advice at all, because at the end of the day, there's no manual to this teaching thing, right? A certificate, classes don't teach you for the real world, and you guys are tried and true and battle tested. So we're gonna go Tunji, Kiba, and then Ramon, and then once we're done with that, just tell us what you guys got going on, and where can people find you. So answer the question, what is a tip you would give a new teacher, and then followed up by where can people find you, what you have going on. So Tunji, there you go. Go ahead. We can't hear you, sir. All right, we're gonna come back to you, brother. All right, Kiba.
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to answer this question. I would tell young teachers to, again, pulling from a lot of the things that we've said earlier, move from a space of love, conviction. You go into teaching school and they tell you some crap like don't smile for the first 2 months, or some crap. You heard that, Ramon, right? Don't smile for the first 2 months. I'm smiling every day. Because like I said, these young people could see right through your smile. Like that is some systemic crap. Why wouldn't I want to smile at this young person? Why wouldn't I want to create a loving and welcoming environment for them with a smile? Why wouldn't I want to disarm them with whatever skepticism that they're already dealing with, becoming into a new situation, transition, change, new teacher, new flex, new flow? Like I said, any space where you can have continuity is important. I would also tell them to plan, to prepare, and be prepared to pivot. Like be prepared to amend or abort something if it's not working, or it's not taking, or add to it, or get advisement. I really think having an older mentor or an older teacher in the school community is priceless, because there are things that you won't know. Like, when I first started teaching, I was like, word, I didn't know they did this in the teacher's lounge. What is going on? We have these ideas of teachers when we're kids. And then when I finally became a teacher, I was like, word, what's going on here? Okay, it's the copy of paper. Like, you find the inner workings very differently. And I think it's important to be okay with not knowing. And we were so metacognitive as educators. We want to be right, and we want to be perfect, and we want to be on point, and we want to know now. And that's not the reality. Reality is every day you embracing the idea of being a student and learning and coming to the table with that. So you have people that have been doing the same lesson planning instruction for 25 years. And that is detrimental to our young people. So I would tell a young teacher to align with people that are being innovative, but also traditional about the ways in which they look at school, so that they're not throwing away the old, but they're looking at them in innovative ways, in ways that really speak to the ways in which we didn't have screens, and my daughter picks up the screen and she's that's it. And it's done. Look, mommy, I did this. And I'm like, dang, I've been trying to do that for 3 months. Because the intellectual capacity that they have when it comes to the way in which they learn is very different. So we have to embrace that and make space for that. And don't be afraid to fail forward is the last thing I'll say. Like, don't be afraid to kind of try something. I remember one time I had this dope idea for this game that I was going to play. And my co-teacher was like, I don't know. And I was like, nah, it's going to be lit. Watch. She was like, but you got to be mindful because they get really excited with these games. And sure enough, third period, it was so crazy. This was like my second year, my first year. And I was like, wow. So I had to be open to that experience and then approach the next round with a lot more structure and understanding and built-in capacity for things to shift and change. And I think that's the best way to be, because a lot of teachers aren't getting support from their administrative their respectful administrations. And it's tough. It's really.
So where can people find you and learn more about what Yay is about?
Yeah, so definitely tune into Yay X, educational consultant. We're also a multimedia company, which is phenomenal. I'm really excited about that. So you can tap in on IG, definitely on Facebook at YeyeX, YEYEX NYC. And also you can tap into me at my personal page, which features me as a musician, as an artist, as somebody running behind these kids, at NAKEEBAROOTS. And I just want to thank you all for this opportunity to speak to the importance of all of the things that impact us in our community, as from an educational perspective, because we don't oftentimes get these forums. So good.
Awesome. Ramon, and then we're going to get back to you, Tunji.
For a new teacher, I definitely would say it's similar to what Nakiba said. Align yourself with a more senior teacher who seems to be doing it right. Because you can look at, but to get to that point of selecting the teacher or teachers that you're going to align yourself with, I've always advised them that during your prep periods, ask teachers if I can come visit and just sit in your classroom and just see things. And you will see things that work well, and you will start to begin to see things that don't work well. And then now you'll try to innovate or hey, that was a good idea, but it wasn't done. If you did this one other thing, it would have turned out really great. And you could try it in your classroom and then get back to that older teacher. So finding teachers that are seasoned and doing it right and visiting different classrooms, sometimes to see the good and the bad, what to do, what not to do, or what you can possibly refine. That's the first thing. The second thing is be patient. You're not going to be a phenomenal teacher the first year. The first thing you're getting used to is the energy drain. You come in your first month of teaching school as a teacher, you're going home at 3:00 and just crashing on the couch because, like I said, you're giving of yourself and different energy of yourself to 60 to 90 people, especially if you teach in middle school each day. So at 3:00, you're going home fatigued. So don't worry about, being a great teacher that first year, But each year, I would say each year that goes by, make sure you choose to elevate yourself in one or two different areas. For example, my first year, I would yell a lot because they threw me to the fire. I had all the holdovers from 5th and 6th grade in one classroom, and I had to teach both grades, fresh out of college. Right. So I was yelling. The second year, I said, I'm not yelling anymore. That took too much out of me. I'm going to find another way to do this, and, I still had, despite the yelling, I still had good relationships with my students. However, I didn't feel like it was necessary. And I said to myself, I'm never going to yell again. And I don't do it now. Students wonder, how do you stay so calm? I would have done this. Like, no, I've trained myself over the years and the universe has tested me enough. Right. The next thing I would say is always be looking to develop your knowledge of content and different techniques of delivering content, because that always changes. Don't be stuck with doing it the same old way. Don't throw it away because you may need to use it. You may need to pull it out of your toolkit 10 years from now, but always be adaptable. Always be looking at what's new in terms of technology. Always looking at what's new in terms of the socio emotional type learning. How do you use that to enhance your lessons, and then also finding ways to kind of let the student lead a little bit. Developing that, and that doesn't come with the first year of teaching. That comes with some like 5 years, like a 5-year plan, I would say, because after 5 years you kind of got it. So develop that 5-year plan of improvement, observation of other teachers, trying different things, increasing your depth of knowledge, and trying to make sure that you commit to certain changes in your teaching style or way of delivering instruction each year, and commit to that.
Okay. And so where can people find, I guess not you personally, but the Royalty Project?
You can find the Royalty Project at our website, www.theroyaltyproject.org. You can see we're also on YouTube, so you can look at some of our cycle documentaries. Just search the Royalty Project and put cycle documentary. That will help you out. And just I'm the bruz, so that you go, you'll see. You definitely I want to invite you guys to take a look at and possibly attend the 75th anniversary of the New Omicron chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. The chapter was founded by Brother Love. So, it's the house that Love built, a legacy of love. That's what we're calling it this year, celebrating 75 years. So those are the places that I try to give back to the community and pay it forward with some of the blessings that I've received throughout my life.
Got it. I mean, you guys are pretty much putting together a master class of Black excellence amongst education right now. So definitely appreciate it. Trying to give Tunji one more second, but while we're talking about wrapping up, Ashley, you have the Wellness Collective coming up, don't you? Go ahead and unmute yourself. You're on mute. There you go.
I muted myself twice.
There you
Well,
go.
okay. Yes, Thursday we have a brand new, fresh episode of Wellness Collective. We're going to be talking about does beauty have to hurt? We're going to be talking about beauty. We're going to be talking about mental health. We have a panel of beautiful women that are coming to tell us about their beauty story, and I can't wait to see y'all there. See y'all watching us there. I can't wait to talk to y'all from the screen for the Wellness Collective. And also, since we have a quick moment while we're waiting on Tunji, if you have not already, please click the subscribe button down below the video. Turn on the notification button so that you can see when we have new episodes of The State of Black Man's Mental Health, new episodes of Getting My Cheese Back in My Cracker, and new episodes of the Wellness Collective.
Awesome. And if you guys missed the latest episode of The State of the Black Man's Mental Health, we had the world's most blessed man and 3 other amazing gentlemen. And when we say these shows are for the diaspora, it's for the diaspora. We had Brother Russell from the DMV. We had Brother Tunji from Atlanta. And we had Brother Augustine from the Netherlands. And we talked about how Black men love. We're going to continue that conversation with vulnerability amongst Black men and how we are capable of being vulnerable. So please tune in. Notifications about that will be coming out shortly. So, Brother Tunji, can you leave us with a tip for new teachers and tell us where you can find you?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get to where you can find me, but because this internet's not showing me no love. And I got probably about 30 seconds, so we're going to do it like this. Email other teachers in your state, in your charter group, in your community, because there's some master teachers that's been doing what you're trying to do for 20, 30 years, and they cook it. Get the PowerPoint slides, get the deck, and try and shift it to what you do, right? Just don't use it. That'll help you develop so much faster if you don't have to build everything from the ground up. Offer to take them out to coffee, sit down. I want to learn from you. I heard you're amazing. I heard you. This is what I did. And then have the humility to flip your classroom on its head if it's not working.
Yeah.
Have the humility to say, stand in front of your students, say, this isn't working. We're not learning like we need to. So we're going to start over and we're trying it this way. I did that like 5-6 times the first semester. I'm talking an overhaul on everything, from where we sit to how we walk in to the family, everything. And that's why I was able to condense like 3 years of growth into a semester because of the humility. So ask for help, find those master teachers and be humble. And one game changer, I said to my friend of my students and I said, you're my nieces, my nephews, and I'm going to teach you like it. You're my nieces and my nephews, and I'm going to teach you like it. And every day I try to step in and hold true to my word. When you look at them like family, you teach them differently. You're not going to let your little niece, your little nephew, your little cousin, your child act a plum fool. You not. Not in the diaspora. So you say that, and then you teach them like it. You can find me at rhymellc.com. I am the most blessed man alive. You can find me on Instagram and everything else. You can email me at rhymellc@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you're a black man. I want to help you cook. I want to help you be a flow state. I want to help you chase the healthiest version of yourself. Oh man, the internet acting right now.
Listen, he got so much energy coming from him through that speaker. The internet ain't ready. They trying to hold him down. But you know what? The message is getting through anyway. And once again, with all that being said, I appreciate everybody that stayed on till this long. We will continue to bring you conversations like this for the community, for the diaspora. And with that being said, keep your cracker on your cheese. I am Paige Benjamin of Getting My Cheese Back on My Cracker. And
I'm Ashley Curry of Getting My Cheese Back on My Cracker. Thank y'all for tuning in. We love y'all and look forward to seeing y'all in 2 weeks.
All right, stay safe, y'all.
All right, take care.
Y'all don't hang up.